Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Origins, a creative journey. Today, I'm excited to introduce our guest of the week. We have Space Rabbit Studios, Shiwen and Kun Yi. Thank you so much for being here on the show.
Hey, guys.
Thank you for having us. So excited.
We are very excited as well. And start every show, and that is to ask you to share with us your origin story. Please tell us about your creative journey.
So since I was a kid, I always making things and putting things together. When I was a kid, I really loved playing with hobby. So I have a bunch of mobile suits Gundam hobby, but I love to position them in the train railroad model, those miniature things. So I can do my kind of Pacific Rim movie when I was 5 years old. I had that things in my blood. So when I was in high school, I discovered Photoshop. That was the time I start to play around with computer and making things with the digital tool. I start to composite my classmates and teachers' photo into movie poster. And at the time, that was at the 90s, so I chose the movie like Con Air, The Rock, and even Batman and Robin. I don't know why I choose that, but I think when I was a kid, I loved that. So that was a big hit, small high school in Taiwan. So that's how I started. I started to play around with these two, and I got into college, study art. And then I came to New York to study. I love how vibrant the art scene is in New York. When I was a kid, I came here a couple of times. There's a lot of museum, and there's a show they don't have anymore. It's called Stomp. That was really something that blew my mind when I was a kid. So that's the reason I decided to come to New York and continue my creative journey. When I started as a motion designer, mostly in the advertising environment, because I freelance and I work with different production companies. So we have sports client, we have beauty client, or we also have television clients. Back to those times when we work on a video animation, we don't have Instagram. We mainly just play things on television. Those are the time like when you go to a bar in the afternoon, and then you will see people cheering or yelling with the game. But when the game go to the commercial, there will be a group of people suddenly yelling and cheering, say, "Yo, we made that commercial!" And one of the people in that table, and that was a good memory. When we started earlier, without social media, changing the formats of video production like forever. I started, I was more like a graphic guy, as a motion designer. I make beautiful image and I put my client's logo on that and make sure the logo is big enough. And then I work my way up, become an art director and creative director, jumping between in-house designer, and sometimes I leave the in-house team and start freelancing as my own. I just like switching back between these two identities. Fast forward, time flies. I think that was a couple of years before the pandemic. Everything looks good. I have built a pretty good career as a motion designer, creative director. But there was a time I look at my portfolio, and all of a sudden there was this kind of unsettling feeling that hit me. So I look at those work I have done, mostly advertising, television work. I start to feel like it seems like I don't have the ownership of those work. It doesn't matter I play a big or small role in that project. It's not mine. I don't see myself in there. That's something kind of shocked me. I asked myself, so what I really want to do actually, even though I have been making a lot of stuff like I always want to do as a kid. I think what I really want to do is I want to be a creator, being able to connect to people through my arts directly. But while working in the advertising world, I feel I get that feeling. And very quickly, that unsettling feeling turns into some kind of panic moment, because that's like after 10, 15 years of working slowly on this advertising world, I feel like, am I building my career in the wrong direction? So even though I climb my career ladder, but did I climb the wrong ladder and then there's no way back? So quickly, this negative feeling kind of occupy me a lot. And when you have all these negative thoughts, various of thinking comes to you, and you start to question yourself, am I not good enough? Or maybe I'm only good to do what people want me to do, not what I want myself to do, stuff like that. But then I sleep on that. I have to keep move forward. But then that's the time I started to decide to partner with Wendy. We already know each other for a couple of years at the time. So I partnered with Wendy. We start to kind of try to reach out to people who actually believe in our style and our arts. So we work as a director duo since then. And that's also the very beginning when we start to use the name Space Rabbits. So at the time, it was just a name to present both of us as creative. We had a couple of good experience working with people who really believe in our stuff. So we are not just take every job. In the past, I was like a Swiss knife, but then we are more focused on finding people like-minded and believe each other. And we also start to tell story with our original characters. So Space Rabbit is one character that turned from originally just a logo of our studio, and then it becomes something full of life, full of story. And that's how we started the Space Rabbit Studio. Just around 2002, I take a break from all this advertising and commercial projects because we still take those projects from time to time just to pay the bill. And then, so we took a break and really seeing what we can do if we focus more on our studio. Originally, the plan was to take a 6 months break, then it turns into a year, and then it turns into 2 years, and we still haven't stopped from that break. I think that's just a natural progression, how it becomes how we become where we are now. But for me, I think about my origin story is more like, there's something I want to do, and I was scared that I was not able to do it because I spent 15 years working on something else. But I'm happy I made that decision, and now I kind of living the dream of doing what I love to do, even though the dream often still have obstacle and challenge, but I'm happy with where we're at now.
Wow. I didn't know what he's going to say. A story. I got heard it from the first time like you do. My creative journey takes a lot of turns to arrive where I am now because I never thought I'd become like a designer or artist. Actually, when I was a little girl, I wanted to be a writer and I love reading. I love to get lost in the book, and I was an avid reader since I was in kindergarten, so I just read a lot. I remember when I was a kid, I really wanted to be Jo in Little Woman. I think that she was my idol kind of thing when I was little. And then besides reading, I really love writing and create my own stories. I remember I have a lot of Care Bears, the stuffed toys as Care Bears, and I have a lot of them. And then I remember when I was a kid, I would line them out on my bed and I would start to tell all the stories to them. All the stories that's in my head, and I would share my story and I would have conversation with them, and it was a fun memory. And then as I grow a little bit older, I start to watch a lot of movies, and then I love like old-timey movies like Gone with the Wind, Casablanca, Tiffany, all those things. I have an old soul even when I was really little, I think. But so I start to feel like, oh, maybe I dream to become like film director, and maybe I can make film one day on my own. And that didn't happen. Well, actually, maybe I should say happen here. Who knows in the future, right? But I think like growing up in a Asian family, like I was told to be more practical. So like in college, university, I majored in mass communication, and after graduated, I started to work in a PR and marketing field. So majorly, I work in mostly advertising and PR agencies for many, many years. During that time, there's all this like branding, commercials, and then we do product launch and all the events and all the branding stuff. But during that time, I worked with a lot of creatives and artists, and I was always by their works, and it's fascinating to understand their whole creative process. And I guess it was during that time, there's a little voice in me always say, hey, maybe someday I can do like creative stuff on my own or something. But as time passed, I think fast forward for many years, I feel like I need a break and I always want to get my master's degree. So I moved to New York to get my degree. And hopefully after I get my master, I can find a job here in New York and then change the environment scenery. But unfortunately, at the end of my master year, the economic was really bad. So it was very difficult to find a job. And especially for international students, it's very hard for companies to sponsor you for working visa, and it's already not great and it's very hard for me. So that was a bummer and I was really upset. But at the time, I already know Cooney, but we haven't worked together yet. But he was just like, I was debating. I was really stressful. I was like, should I go back to Taiwan? Should I stay in New York? What should I do with my life at the time? And then Cooney was like, why don't you do something that you always wanted to do and then try something and then you will find out what you want to do later. So that year I decided to do the 365 photo challenge, so which I take a photo a day, which kind of supposed to document my life. So which I started to take photograph of 2 toy figurines, which represent me and Kumi, and then try to turn like a little moment of our life into a photo. And through that 1 year, from that project, I start to experiment with clay and I start to play with different materials to build little props and then build little set for the little figurines. And then I realized after that project, I really love to make things with my own hands. And then it was something I have passion at. And experimenting different materials to tell stories is a lot of fun. And then I start to feel like maybe it's time to change my career. And since I always love movies, Cooney loves movies, and then he's doing motion design, all the animation, which just wows me. So we start to team up together and work together for Space Rabbit Studio. And that led to, but after we work on that, like Cooney just talked about that previously, we start to feel like we want to create more contents and stuff that's represent our own voice. So we start to, so it's Space Rabbit, who's Space Rabbit, and we start to think about giving him a voice, try through him tell the stories that we want to do. And we start to do toys, we do animations, we do a lot of different things for that. And I guess that's where my creative journey goes. But the only thing I think that hasn't changed is my love of telling stories. And now I just feel like I have a lot of tools and just like looking forward to experimenting more different materials and mediums to tell stories. So that's my story.
This is super awesome. Thank you so much for sharing both of your stories. It's so cool especially having 2 people kind of with similar but different backgrounds coming together to then collaborate and build out this studio. I would love to know, and I think this is going to be the question a lot of our listeners are really interested in, and part of this is just me clarifying. When you first formed Space Rabbit Studios, the 2 of you were still sort of doing marketing and advertising as like your own mini agency. Is that correct? Okay. And then in 2002, you sort of took a hiatus that ended up becoming your full-time studio practice of building out the world of Space Rabbit and the other characters, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
2022. That would be 20 years already.
I just wasn't sure because I was like, for anyone who isn't familiar with their work, you definitely need to go to their website because it feels like a brand that's been around for quite some time. Like it's very robust. You have such a broad range of products and prints and like books and animation. It feels like finding out it's the 2 of you kind of blows my mind because I thought it was like, oh, this big studio, that giant studio you're running or something. So everyone definitely needs to check that out. But I'd love to know kind of like, so how long was that period though of the 2 of you collaborating and freelancing on your own, doing more ads and marketing for other clients before, like when was the formation, I guess, until, that hiatus that you made in 2022? And like, what were some of the ups and downs of that journey? What did that look like?
So the year that we actually started to use the name Space Rabbit, I think that was around 2018. But that was very different than what Space Rabbit Studio is now. Like I mentioned, it's just a name. And at the time, we want to have a space to put our works together. Interesting part that we didn't even thought about. So therefore, Space Rabbit. And then we start to work with this name. And look at this logo at some point, and we start to feel like, hey, this is kind of an interesting, cute little logo. What if we actually made that into a physical figure? How cute that would be. That might be something that we can work on that. And so when we start to play around with a bunch of prototypes and see how we can do that. And therefore, aside from the client's work, the animation video work, the designer toy life of Space Rabbit start to come to shape. And but it took about a year or so to we finally figure out how this Space Rabbit character toy should look like. And so during those time, even enter into the pandemic, we are still mostly focused on our original work. So I still take freelance work from my old client, while we also try to establish new connection with people that love more of our style instead of just need our service to help them achieve. And I think during the pandemic is an interesting time for creative. Especially, I think the first half of the pandemic, the market is really good, and I have a lot of job requirements. So at the time, then I took all of them, and then but it turns out I got burnout a lot. I got the most profit that year. I burned out the most that year, and that's the reason that leads to 2022 decision that we think maybe if we really want to make something, we need to take a bolder move by just maybe call it off. As you know, the hardest things to work as a freelance creative is the courage and ability to say no, because you always worry about where is your next paycheck. So that does take courage, but we took it. So that's how this transformation process is.
Yeah, but I think a fun part is that before we decided to do toys, we were both toy collectors. Like we both love toys, but not like crazy. But when two of us ate together, it become crazy. We start to have all this like, oh, we should get this. We have a whole Godzilla collection. We have like, it's just getting more and more crazy. But so I think that was when we were like, maybe it was started as a fun idea. We just like, maybe we turn Space Rabbit into toy. What would that like? So for that process, I started to learn how to cast, how to use resin, how to do the plastic mold and all those things. It's a learning process, make us feel excited again. Like I think the whole origin when we started to do Space Rabbit Studio is because we feel like we want to have a space to express our own voice. It doesn't matter is through animation or a toy or books or anything. It was just having a space where people can see us, where can hear our voice, something that we want to say through like a cute character design. That's the style that we want to do. So I think we're also exploring that and having fun with it. But the hardest part is letting it go and feel very insecure because we both had our career built for at least like 10, 15 years before this. And then it feels like really old to get into a new, and then what if this fail? If this doesn't work out, what are we gonna do? But so far we're loving it and we wanted to keep it going and see how.
Very jealous of you guys. I'm amazed at you guys and extremely jealous of you guys. By the way, first, I'm a New Yorker.
Long Island City?
Oh, I'm Brooklyn boy.
I mean, we're close. We're very
Just one
close.
bridge apart.
Yeah, we're family. We'll call it family.
I used to live there. If that make you feel better.
It took me, the pandemic, like you, helped me do it. But I'm 50 and I built a whole career and I still haven't left. I'm just amazed that you left and the success. And I have to hand it to you. It takes guts more than I can even put into words to do it. But I love the statement you said that you thought you were climbing the wrong ladder. I mean, that's just the most profound statement I think anyone's ever said on this show, because I can relate. Like, you've built this whole thing and you were saying, okay, the guts it takes to jump off that ladder and take a new ladder is just amazing. And to start turning down clients because I've done that. That's how I didn't get out. I'm like, no, I got to pay the bills. I won't get food, right? Was there a point that you just finally, most people have a point, like something that happened that made them go, I know I'm on the right ladder now, to take your own words. Did you have this point when you realized, oh my God, this is actually working? Or was it just a length of time that made you realize this could be something?
Because we don't know each other's answers. But for me, I feel like I think we both were burned out from what we had the career before. But that was good money, though. It was something that was very difficult to let go. But I think it's one thing it's very lucky is we have the same maybe dream per se. Like we feel like there's the same future that we are after, so we can support each other. So I think that gives us a little bit more courage because it's two of us. We are all into this things. It's not fun working together all the time, but because I have to say, because it's like you have work, you have life, it's not that easy. But I think sharing the same dream, when I feel down or when he feels down, we can encourage each other and remind each other why we are doing this. And also because we start to do toys and then we start to meet this community of friends and fans, and then the feedback, it's very genuine and they happy to smile because we want to see them happy because all our creation we want to send out the message to give the warmth. And then the feedback that we got, I think that also keep us going. Like we feel so much love through the process, and then the help, it just like it's very different than what we had before. It's just a very different environment and we really like it, right?
I think it's very hard to know if you are on the right ladder. I mean, it's probably easier to know you are not on the right ladder, but if you are on the right one or not, we don't know. But I know I currently like this ladder a little better than the old one. So that's the force to drive me, keep climbing and see where I can go. So the hard thing is I have been turning down old clients for a while, or until now, it's already get to the point that they start to stop contacting me because they probably know it's hard to. But there's a flow, if you are a freelance artist and you circle between a couple of clients, right? And you finish one, you take the other, and that's how you keep going with the projects. So once you break that circle and you stop, and it will naturally die down. So I'm at the point that I kind of distant with those old connection already. So late at night, I will look at my email and tell myself, this is it. There's no way back, because it's not you to decide to go back or not. You just, if you want to go back, just take another big jump to bring the old things back. So I know I have to move in then. We do try to find a couple of ways to balance the finance. Like we both take some teaching job because that kind of help a little bit. So you have different source of income. We do love teaching, so we have friends invite us to teach the art, toy, animation, all these things together. We feel that's very interesting things to do. And on the side, we just constantly focus on how can we make our stuff work.
But also, I feel like even if you say the wrong letter, I feel like the old letters lead us to the new letter because all the experience or all the things that we have, all the animation experience, all the marketing experience, everything come together, help us to make the current letter stronger, we hope. So that I think it was a build up. I always feel like kind of naturally build us to where we are. If we didn't have all of this experience, even the opportunity comes, we are not ready for it. So
I love that idea of that, even though it was sort of the wrong ladder, it led you to where you are now. Because I think, like, I'm super fascinated as someone who, like, I attended university, I have a biology degree, and then I went back to school for art. And I think I'm always so fascinated by people who have sort of a creative adjacent career, and then that leads them to their main creative field because like you said, or like I mentioned earlier, your shop looks so professional and you have animation and client work and it just looks very professional to the point that if you were like, oh, we've only been doing this full time for 2 years, I'd be, you got to be kidding me. But I think it really shows that level of mastery that you both obtained through your old careers in terms of marketing and animation and all of these motion graphics design, right? That led you to be able to have such a really pro level studio and shop presence and convention presence and things like that. So thank you for being very frank about some of the challenges that you faced along the way. But you've kind of alluded to this, but I would love to know what would you say is the most difficult challenge that you're facing right now as an independent creator, creative studio?
I would say self-doubt. Self-doubt is always the big devil that live among creative. And now especially we kind of still new to this industry. And question that am I actually qualified to do this? That's always happened. And I joke about that. After making the decision, so 3 days of our week, I'm happy with that decision. Another 4 days, I'm highly
Doubting.
doubting myself. That doubt is the demon that I have to overcome every day. For me personally, like making stuff. So whenever I'm making stuff for Space Rabbit Studio, then that heal myself a little bit. That push the self doubt away a little bit, but that comes back. So I'm kind of doing this cycle every day to keep me moving forward.
Hearing that, my wife is also a creative, and so we've collaborated at times, and then we both kind of do our own separate thing, and then we'll come back. And so I think it is super relatable and great advice to really have those distinctions of when you're like, oh, boundaries and that framework can help push the work forward. So that was very interesting, and I think great advice for people out there. I would love to know, like, what kind of advice would you give to other people who are maybe struggling more with like the marketing side? Because even though we want you here as toy creators, I think it would be remiss of us to not leverage the wealth of knowledge and experience the two of you have in like the marketing and ad campaign. And so, especially for people who don't have familiarity with like lighting and cameras and like how to make a really polished advertisement or marketing campaign, what would you recommend to other toy creators or other artists that are just like, oh, I'd love to boost my marketing up? Is there any single tip you could give them?
We ourselves actually also like seeking for marketing tips all the time, even though I've experienced before, but I think it's very different. And also that nowadays, like social media, it's just a totally different game. There's a pros and cons. I feel like it's not so much about spending money on advertising. I think it's about making the content interesting. So what we did is we did a lot of research and we look at the artists that we like and then what works, what didn't work, and then we talk to people and we do a lot of research about it. And then also I think taking photo of the product, I think each artist have their own style. We do like very clean and cute and kind of want to bring Space Rabbit to life to feel like he's talking to you. Doesn't matter it's animation or our toy or the photography. So I think find that style. It's important that represent you. So I think the style comes from experience. You just start to take a lot of photos and then try to play with lighting. And nowadays, I think tutorials are very easy to find. And then I think we spend a lot of equally amount of time researching than on the making works. It just goes like to keep us up to date because I think like we're older. So like I wanted to know like how Instagram, and we're not comfortable on social media as like it's not something like it's kind of forced learning and then we have to get the present. So choosing the right channel that fit your personality and all that, I think it's a thing.
Yeah, I think you want to be able to keep up to date with what's going on in the world. For sure, social media is an important world that you should be familiar with, see what people do and see. And there's a lot of people will give different kind of advice on whether Twitter, Thread, even Instagram now. I think the ability to digest that vast amounts of advice and information is the hardest thing, but it's also the most important thing that you need to do, because otherwise you will get overwhelmed by 100 different advice given to you in a day. And you want to think about what is the core message of your brand or your character, and whatever things you want to develop, whether it's an animation or it's a toy or it's even something even more ambitious, you want to see, does it really related to that message? Can you actually amplify the message through that media? And if it does, yes, you can plan and go for that. Maybe you don't know photography, you can possibly work with people who know that. And if you want to work with team to help your marketing plan, I think it will also be good to understand the basic of those media, like understand the basic of how lighting is, even though you don't really know how to set up the light technically, but you want to have more dramatic feeling, or you want it to feel more like a studio production. Being able to have this basic understanding will help your communication with the team. As a person who has stepped into both a vendor and a client's shoes, I think that's one thing important. And that knowledge will help the communication smoother and help the final product fit to both you and your partner's mind.
Consistency also. Like, I think you have to, all the messages that you send out have to come back to you, and then be consistent, and then be authentic. I think, like, be true, because I feel like that's who you are. As time goes by, that's who you build. It's your own brand. So I think be authentic about it, be fun about it. Depends on what you want your brand to look like. But yeah, I mean, especially for toys, it's just, you don't need to limit yourself.
Thank you. That was the best information. And I'd love to play with this a little more. Now that you're at this point here, I'd love to hear about if you had to do things different, if you had little things you would have done different or changed. Are there any, and what would you have done different?
We made a lot of mistakes, but I feel like if I look back, those are the mistakes I have to make in order for me to be here. So I don't know if I will do things differently, because I can't do things differently, because without those mistakes, I don't know how to move it forward. Because I feel like I probably can't do anything different, but I will think about, when I look back, I'll be like, what should I be more careful moving forward? How should I manage my time? How to manage my time better? How to cut down our ambitions, like not do 3 projects at the same time and then endless deadline, killing myself about it. I feel like it's not about doing things different, but learning experience for me. So that is what I think.
I love that so much. It really shows the opportunity that we all have to really kind of learn from those mistakes and decide to make different changes and learn how to grow from those. This has been a super awesome conversation. Like, I feel like I've gained so much, and I think your marketing advice is really beyond being helpful, but I think it also really reflects how much work goes into a creative business that's not just making the stuff, right? It's all of the research, it's talking to people, building connections. And what do you have any other advice that you would give people around the business side of growing a brand or trying to grow your own toy company?
I have a advice for ourselves. It's more of like, we love to close the door and do stuff, and then it's like stepping out of our comfort zone and try to reach out, and then reaching for more opportunities to talk to more people, or maybe do collaboration with other artists or brand or something, or do more podcasts. Like, it was just like for us to be comfortable in front of like people and talk to people. That it's something that I feel like we don't have. So, but I feel like believing in yourself is very important to create a brand for yourself. If you don't believe your own brand, then I can't push it forward.
But also the half is you want to believe in yourself, but you also want to understand your weakness. That's one big thing that I feel if I do that, if I do what I'm doing now, when I was 20s, I wouldn't know my weakness at the time. And when I was 20, I was one of those, cocky kids that I think I can change the world. At the time, I saw my career ladder is an escalator just going up all the way. But it turned out didn't like that, right? And now, so when I try to do things, I know what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, and I kind of can pay attention to those things. I acknowledge those things and just try to make solution to fix that weakness. And I think that's one big things that help.
Yeah, and also I feel like do follow your gut and do your dream job, but dream jobs are not always glamorous and fun. It was just like doesn't matter what kind of job you do something that you really love. So the process or the pain doing it's worth it.
You have Casey running through my head, and I'm probably the only one old enough to know who he is. Keep your feet on the ground while you're reaching for the stars, how he would end his show every week. That's just great advice. And I hate to shift gears on us, but I don't want to run out of time because this is my favorite part of the show. I love your stuff. Listening to you with Gundam and Godzilla's, you can tell I'm massive freak for that stuff. Who inspires you? What do you like? What gives you your creative juices? Like I always say, like I put on a Godzilla movie while I'm painting stuff for Microsoft. I need that. So I'd love to hear those from you guys.
That's where I am now. So yeah, Rocky is my big inspiration. I love him so much. And we both love film a lot. So I have all my inspiration is coming from film.
Yeah.
My favorite animation is Paprika from Satoshi Kon. It's one of the movie that a lot of people say is the one inspired Inception. Yes. So that's one of my favorites. And all the Satoshi Kon film inspired me a lot. And I also love, there's a film called Before Sunrise.
Hey, don't steal mine.
Just so you can say the other one.
Okay.
So I'm going to leave that to you. So I got inspired by film from different genre, and that's how I study like cinematography, composition, lighting, and even storytelling.
It's my favorite. And then I grew up with that movie, so it was like the 3 set movies. They just basically tell the life. I feel I resonate with it a lot. I don't have like a favorite movie or like you do, but we watch movies pretty much every week and every day almost. So that's how we get creative. We watch all kind of genre. Godzilla is our new favorite, so we watch it together, something together, and we also watch rom-coms just for fun and all that. And then Japanese drama or Korean drama is a huge influence for us. So I will go back to the old ones and the new ones back and forth together. And there's a lot of Asian, like Japanese writers that I really love. So I go back to books and movies. I think that's how I get inspired.
That's awesome. It's so cool to hear like such a breadth of different inspiration that you both draw on. Where can people, listeners, viewers, where can people find more about you and your studio and all of the magic that you are creating?
I think website has most of the information on there. But if people want to see what we've been up to, I think Instagram is the main social media platform that we do. We also have Thread and are posting on Thread and Instagram are a little bit different. Stephen. So Instagram has more of our work, our new product, new release, new illustration, and our Thread sometimes it's just like
fun stuff,
daily fun stuff that we just throw it up there.
Yeah, kind of goofy stuff.
On Instagram, they are space_rabbit_studio. And your website, I believe, is space-rabbit.com. Over to you, Chris. Now you can do your wrap up.
Quick shout out. If you're not following them on Instagram, follow them. The whole videos they do of the creation process are just wonderful. I stare at them for hours and then go, God, I suck. So I hate for this episode to come to an end because there's just been a great conversation and I'm super fan as always. But we love to end the show with giving our guests the final word. Anything you'd like to say, it's an open mic and it's all yours.
Think I always amazed whenever I get a chance to talk to people or now going to conventions, showing our stuff. People always give us warm feedback, like you guys do. Whenever I have these moments, that always warm my heart and make me feel like my decision was not a bad one, that I can keep going. Sometimes a little gesture actually helps people a lot. You don't know what each people are in at that current state. Sometimes your warm compliments actually comfort people and maybe much more than you think. So my advice is don't be shy if you really like something from some artist or even that person. Just be open and just compliment him and say some nice word, because you don't know what that word can help a person.
I think for me, it's more simple. I think that's the whole, we always hear in the studios, we joke about what's Space Rabbit about. I think it's about love and bring happiness to people, because there's too much hate in the world. And we just feel like you go home and then hug people you love. If you see something that you like and just share with people. I think human interaction is important.
Thank you for joining Rick and myself on another episode of Origins, A Creative Journey, a Designer Con production. Please like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, download and listen to us every place you get your favorite podcast. Follow us on Instagram at Origins, A Creative Journey, all one word. Drop us an email for thoughts, ideas, or maybe somebody you'd like us to interview at dconpodcast@gmail.com. And make sure you join us in Las Vegas for DesignerCon, North America's premier annual design convention. All the information can be found, including tickets, at designercon.com. Till then, enjoy your own creative journey.